for cutting contact with my childhood best friend because she demanded that I break up with my fiance. I 21F cut contact with one of my closest childhood friends, Mary 21F, a few weeks ago. While I feel relieved she's out of my life, most of my family and mutual friends think I overreacted, and now I'm starting to second-guess my decision. I'm going to put some rather irrelevant background information here. Mary and I practically grew up as sisters. We were neighbors, and our parents started arranging playdates for us before we could even walk. From kindergarten to secondary school, we did everything together. If I wasn't at her house, she was at mine. I trusted her completely and never thought of her as anything other than my best friend. Things changed when Mary moved away for university. At first, I missed her, but over time, I noticed how much easier my life felt without her constant presence. I wasn't being criticized, guilt-tripped, or forced to justify my choices anymore. It became clear how much control she'd had over me. Mary had a way of dominating every aspect of my life. She'd dismiss my hobbies and pressure me to quit them, and if she didn't like one of my friends, I'd have to cut ties. You could call me a pushover, but when you grow up with someone like that, it's hard to see the manipulation for what it is. Things really came to a head when I met my now fiancé, Dave, 27M. He's amazing, kind, supportive, and everything I've ever wanted in a partner. We clicked instantly, and he's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me. But of course Mary didn't approve. She immediately tried to plant seeds of doubt, saying he was too old, he'd cheat, or he was only using me. Thankfully, for once I didn't listen to her, and I'm so glad I didn't. In December, Dave surprised me with a dream vacation, and during the trip he proposed. Everything about it was perfect, he planned every little detail, and it was more magical than I could have ever imagined. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with everyone. Naturally, I told Mary, expecting at least some excitement, but instead she downplayed the entire thing. She nitpicked the proposal, saying how she would have done it differently and what could have been better. It stung, but I brushed it off and reminded her that it was my proposal, not hers. A few weeks later, we met in person for the first time in months. That's when things completely fell apart. Out of nowhere, Mary told me I should break up with Dave. When I asked why, her reasoning had nothing to do with me. Instead, she compared him to her boyfriend Julian, 22M, saying things like, Dave makes more money than Julian, and Dave can give you everything, while I have to work for what I want. It was clear she wasn't concerned about me. She was just jealous. She couldn't handle the fact that, for once, my life seemed better than hers. That was the breaking point for me. I told her to leave my house, and afterward, I sent her a long message explaining how hurt and disappointed I was. I told her that her behavior was unacceptable, and that I didn't want her to contact me again. Since then, it feels like she's told everyone in our social circle. Mutual friends and even some family members have reached out, saying I was too harsh and should have handled things differently. They said, "That's just how Mary is. You've known her your whole life. She's always been in the spotlight and gotten what she wanted." Some even accused me of breaking her heart, and told me it was wrong to choose my fiancé over a lifelong friend. Even my mom said she expected better of me, and that's what's making me question my decision. Did I overreact? Mary has been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. Sure, she has her flaws, but we've also shared countless good times and memories. Am I throwing away years of friendship over this? Should I try to fix things, or was cutting her off the right choice? Since some people in the comments are claiming this story is fake. Unfortunately, it's not. I obviously can't prove it to you, but honestly, what would be the point of making up a story and posting it on Reddit? I've never used Reddit before and have no idea what karma is, or why anyone would want it. Also, yes, I let AI correct my text, mainly because I was incredibly angry when I wrote it and just kept rambling. English isn't my first language either. Combine these two things, and you can probably imagine that my original text was all over the place. For clarification, I don't know exactly what Mary told my friends and family, since most of the messages I received were pretty vague. I also didn't ask my mom what Mary said had happened. I was too angry to have a calm conversation after my mom told me I was being dramatic, which led to me yelling at her. All I know is that Mary admitted to asking me to break up with my fiancé, but I don't know if she explained why she wanted me to. Lastly, my parents raised Mary like a second daughter, and she's always incredibly kind in front of them. I guess that's why they didn't believe me. Maybe they're just in denial because it's easier for them to handle. I don't know. But I get it, hearing something bad about someone you like for the first time can make you want to deny it. Relevant comments. And I believe you are probably a people pleaser and she dominated your relationship to an unhealthy extent. However, that said, the age gap with your BF really is a red flag, especially given how eager to please you are. It's exactly what abusers look for, and to put it frankly, a mature, well-regulated man would not be looking for such a younger partner. I especially find it troubling that he wants to rush you into marriage. From a stranger on the internet, I'd like to advise you strongly to wait a few years before you marry, establish a career first, and do not give it up even to raise kids. BC if he follows the same abuser pattern. He will insist that you be a stay-at-home mom, and then when you are trapped financially and tied down by children, the abuse will begin. Lots of sniping directed at your self-esteem, making you doubt yourself. Because he's so much older, so of course he must know better than you, right? Wrong. It's a well-worn tactic by insecure men to maintain dominance. And it often ends in tragedy. Keep your wits about you. And if you decide to risk it, do not accept any sort of negging or disrespect from the get-go. And always keep a secret bank account so you can escape. Always be willing to walk away, rather than appease him if he doesn't treat you as an equal. Also, I hope I'm wrong. Oopie. I totally understand where you're coming from since you only have an outside perspective, but you gladly couldn't be more wrong. 1. Bit of TMI, but whatever, I can't have biological children like at all. I'm missing reproductive organs, so yeah, no children for us. We don't want children anyways. This is something that we've been sure of all our lives. We're both very career-driven and busy people. A child wouldn't fit into our lifestyle at all. 2. Our finances won't be combined at all. This is something that we've agreed on heavily. I'm currently still in university, and once I graduate I'll be making way more money than him, so being a stay-home man is out of the picture. I'm not going to defend my relationship here, mainly because this is not what this post is about, but I'm 100% sure that he's the right guy for me. No questions asked, that he's not abusive, manipulative, or anything of that sort. I know given my friendship with Mary it sounds a bit funny, but I have my reasons. Comment. Honestly, on the one hand she sounds awful, and yeah, cut her off definitely. But also, it makes me almost sick to my stomach to hear a girl as young as you getting love-bombed into a relationship by a so much older guy. And I am not sure if maybe she is worried for you after all or just accidentally correct. He sounds like someone grooming you. Please live with him first, get an education and a job, wait with having kids. Make sure you are truly safe. Please. I get where you're coming from, but it has nothing to do with being love-bombed, groomed, or anything. Also, some other information. 1. We've been living together for 2 years now. 2. I have 2 very good paying jobs to the point where, if I watch out for what I'm buying, I wouldn't need to work for the next 5 years or so at all, plus both are incredibly fun BTW and I'm still in university. He has no access to my finances at all, and I don't have access to his. That won't change after marriage as well. 3. Bit of TMI, but whatever. I can't have biological children. I miss all reproductive organs and he's, obviously, aware of that. He's not trying to turn me into a stay-home mom or wife in any way, if this is what you're trying to get at. Comment. There is always the question, why is this dude interested in me? And you can emphasize each word and find an answer to each of these questions. The guy is 27, you are 21. You feel she has too much dominance over your life. Will he have the same access? Did you replace her with him? Or did you grow? Also, why marry at 21 or 22? It's a long commitment. From 21 till you die, or at least want to die. What's the rush? Kids. Why? Economy. No sex before marriage? Okay, so I get why you're suggesting this, but I didn't replace her with him. He's incredibly supportive in every aspect of the word, and I'm not talking about supportive in the way that my childhood friend was. He's genuine, wants the best for me, and is just an amazing guy overall. We're both musicians and met through our guitar teacher. We hit it off instantly, became friends, worked on a few projects, and started dating a few months later. We're very similar personality-wise, have the same plans for the future, and never fight in a destructive way. When it comes to him, I've won the lottery. I can't even put into words how perfect he is. He's never dictated me in any way, shape, or form. Never even told me what to do in the slightest. As for why we're getting married so young, why not? It's not for everyone. But I want to spend the rest of my life with him, and we're sure that it's going to work out. It has nothing to do with no sex before marriage, or having kids or economy. It just feels right. We've talked about marriage a lot prior to him proposing, and it doesn't matter if we get married in 2 or 3 years or now. Comment. NTA, but Mary is right about one thing. He is too old for you. You two are in completely different stages of life. You're in college, he's established a career. Assuming you didn't get engaged super quickly, I'm guessing you started dating when you were a teenager, and he was in his mid-20s? Also, someone 27 proposing to someone 21 quickly is also a red flag. Look, I'm 10 years older than you, but I remember being in my early 20s dating someone 5 years older than me. Everything my boyfriend did, and he was older than me by a few years, seemed often amazing and impressive. When he booked a nice hotel and planned out things for vacations, when he could just whip up amazing meals without a menu from what was in his fridge, when he always seemed to know what little things to do to take care of me, etc. The vacation thing? He was working full-time. He had the money to do it, and had done it with previous girlfriends more than once. And it wasn't that he could just magically cook well. He'd been doing it long enough that he could grocery shop for an entire week, could mentally meal plan, and had made the meals enough that he didn't need a recipe anymore. As for taking care of me in all the small ways, that came with practice in previous relationships. It's been almost 10 years since that relationship. I've had 2 serious ones since, one of which I'm currently in, lived with both of them. Currently living with my boyfriend, moved in together shortly after we started dating, and have been really happy together ever since. The difference is, we're both in our 30s in similar phases of life. It's sweet when he cooks for me, but it's not the impressive thing I thought it was a decade ago. We can both pay for vacations now. One of us has the airline points credit card. One of us has the hotel points card. So we can afford to do more and nicer stuff on trips. We both want kids. And we've both had careers long enough that parental leave wouldn't hurt either of us. What if Dave wants to start having kids when he turns 30? You won't be able to say the same thing. It's not uncommon for guys to do this to girls your age. They're perfect, shower you with love and money, and you don't know better. Then once they've locked you down, they start to change. It's a stereotype for a reason. Also, someone made a good point about her being manipulative all your life to the point where it's normalized. There may be some serious manipulation going on here that you're not picking up on because of that. I would tread very slowly with this relationship. If you're happily engaged a year from now, then start planning the wedding before you've invested time and money in it. See if anything in the relationship changes. If you tell him you want to wait a year before starting any kind of wedding planning. And for the love of God, do not drop out of college or give up a career for him if he tells you that you don't need to do those things because he can take care of you. I completely understand why you'd say that, and I'm grateful for your concern. However, I believe that I can judge my own relationship quite well, especially in comparison to an internet stranger. I'm just going to comment on the aspects you've mentioned yourself. 1. What's special about cooking? Cooking, meal prep, etc. isn't something amazing or impressive. It's literally a skill everyone should have, and from a young age on as well. 2. We make about the same amount of money. Why? We're on stage, get paid a lot, and have some side jobs here and there, album production, teaching lessons, you name it. He finished uni last summer and only accepted a stable job 3 months ago. I could easily book high-end hotels at the age of 19 without it hurting or affecting my bank account at all. I've got another very well-paying job on the side which I wouldn't need, but it's fun, so why not? I'm not dependent on him in any way. I'm not with him because I need him. I just like having him around. He's a very nice addition to my life, but he's not necessary for me to survive. He's got nothing to offer me that I couldn't achieve within a month. I can lead an absolutely stable life on my own. As for having children, he doesn't want any and never wanted them, which is good, because I can't get pregnant anyway. I'm also not going to drop out of college. I didn't put myself through almost 4 years of law school to drop out halfway through. We're both very career-driven and want the same things for our near. And as far as that can be judged now, long-term future. As I've said, I appreciate your concern, but there's a reason why people who know us personally, and I'm not talking about my mom, Mary, or anyone of that sort, never had an issue with our relationship. Comment. Okay, I'm calling AI bullshit on this post. You're 21, and you've almost graduated law school? Yeah, sure. Law school requires a bachelor's degree, 3 years in law school. It's also expensive and time-consuming. But you have a job that allows you to work, and also put yourself through your multiple degrees? I really call bullshit on this. Assuming you are this caught up in your love bubble to see reality. Affording high-end hotels at 19 while working and in college? Also, don't buy it. And what's special about cooking and being excellent at it? It's a gesture that you care about your partner. And if your partner is that good at it, it's impressive. You really sound too young to be getting married. Look up any celebrity couple where a much younger girl got engaged to, or married a much older actress. Those relationships didn't end well in general. You say you're both on stage, I'm guessing performers of some sort? If you were that successful as an entertainer, you'd be out living your life in the spotlight instead of posting on Reddit. And a follow-up, you're 21. Your brain isn't fully developed yet, especially your frontal lobe, which is what controls judgment and decision-making. That's at 25. Decisions I would have made at 21 are never decisions I would have made at 25. You sound exactly like me when I described my relationship at 22. Almost word for word, except I wasn't lying about having a high-paying job at 19. I do have a trust fund, so I did live the lifestyle, but that's rare. And I can tell you this, if your mom has concerns about your relationship, or is not disagreeing with Mary, she's probably onto something. When my mom had hesitations about someone I was dating, she never told me until after I figured it out for myself. But she always knew and was always right. OP comment. 1. I'm not American. I have to pay less than €300 every 6 months to attend university. That's it. Sorry that education over here doesn't cost a house, car, my firstborn and liver. 2. I started university at 18, and I'm turning 22 at the end of January. I don't know what it's like in America. But here you have to pass 2 state exams to be a fully equipped lawyer. The first state exam takes place after 10 semesters, so 5 years. I'm currently in my 7th semester. The second state exam takes 3 years. I'm almost halfway through. 3. I get around 500 to 1K for each gig, after taxes. Some of it goes towards hotels and transportation, the rest I can keep. We have gigs 2 times a week, during holidays 3 to 4 times. I've been part of this band since 2021. Now you can guess how much that paid me over the years in comparison to what most people my age make, or what people usually are being paid with a 9-to-5 job. 4. I have a very flexible part-time job, because I teach children on the side, an additional €25 per hour. There are currently 7 children. 5. I really don't know if looking in the fridge and being able to prepare a meal is something I'd call impressive. Please, you're an adult, you should be able to feed yourself, as well as calculate how much you're going to spend on food for the week. This is something you learn when you've lived on your own for 5 months. 6. I'm posting on Reddit because I needed insight on what to do. If this goes public, it could create some controversy, depending on who people believe. While you can take this story to Instagram and post a video of yourself ranting about your ex-best friend, I can't. I know it's hard to believe, but people you see on stage actually also have a life outside of the public. 7. I won't even go into this whole mom thing. Read my post, and you should know why they can't be trusted. Comment. Okay, assuming that you think I'm poor. Seems like a stretch that you assume I'm poor in any debt from college or grad school. I also don't know what third world former Soviet Republic state you live in, but you can't get a solid law degree in 4 years without having a solid background in something else. If law is the only thing you know, you've only studied law and nothing else really. And being able to buy general groceries for the week without needing to know what you're making for the week and putting it together is a like skill. Sorry for grilling some chicken and veggies, which it seems like you're implying I do, or my boyfriend does, and calling it a really nice seasoned meal. You're not impressive. My boyfriend and I are both really excellent cooks. Either way, my point about your frontal lobe not being fully developed still stands. It isn't. Your fiance's is. Let me explain to you what studying law is like in my country university in Germany. There are 2 types of schools, one which in general doesn't allow you to study at a university, finished after 10th grade, and one that allows you to get your AITA after 12th grade. Once you have your AITA with a sweet nice GPA and C, you can basically study whatever you want. You sign up for your wish degree and either you get accepted or not. I signed up for law and got accepted. The first few semesters consist of basic studies, criminal, state, civil law. Then you have an exam which allows you to specialize in a certain field. For me, that's criminal law. After 10 semesters, you have your first state exam, which basically allows you to work for businesses, but you're not a fully equipped lawyer yet, meaning you can't be an attorney, public prosecutor, or judge. You basically can't work in court. If you want to work in court, you have to pass your second state exam. For that, you have to study 1 more year in university and need to do an internship for 2 years. You don't need to study something in advance in order to study law. You also don't need to study anything in advance if you want to become a doctor, programmer, engineer, or anything. You sign up for the program you want and you go for it. Honestly, just look it up. There are enough university websites that explain how studying works in great detail if you don't believe me. Also, what do you mean by you can't get a solid law degree in 4 years? When have I ever said that I've got a degree in law after 4 years? Well, I'm talking about cooking, not heating things up. I'm European, don't forget that. It's also kind of sad that you take such great pride in having basic skills that every adult should have, but yeah, you go girl. I'm proud of you and your man for being able to cook. Also, I'm not assuming you're broke. You just mentioned that studying is expensive, which is why you doubt I have any money to my name. This wasn't aimed at you at all. I was just pointing out that studying in Germany doesn't put most people in debt. Quite honestly, you're talking about things that I've never said and twisting my words in ways I clearly didn't intend. It seems like either you lack reading comprehension or you're just trying to find excuses to label my post as fake, while obviously failing at it. Either way, it's pretty embarrassing, don't you think? Comment. I'm talking about cooking, not grilling a bratwurst. Cooking fine dining cuisine takes practice. Being able to see and put together a meal that is that level without needing a recipe and just knowing how to do it, it's a skill. And generally, to practice law, you need more than just legal background. Knowing the law and understanding more than just knowing the law are different things. If you only ever study law, it narrows your worldview to one specific discipline. It's why business schools in my country for undergrad generally include classes that aren't specifically business related. Law school prefers a degree that isn't specifically pre-law. There's something to be said for being well-rounded and having perspective in a field that's not the one you intend on ending up in. And as someone who is converting to Judaism, and whose partner is Jewish, if your country had an educational system like that, one of the worst atrocities in human history your country committed might not have happened. I'm going to let you believe that cooking is something only few people can do because clearly you can't comprehend the fact that in other countries it's normal to grow up with home-cooked meals that are more advanced than throwing macaroni, cheese, and some sauce into a ceramic bowl and putting it in the oven. What do you even know about law? Like genuinely. Do you know what it's like to study law? Do you know what's being discussed? Do you know what lawyers actually do? Or is your knowledge solely based on what you see on TV? Besides, your last paragraph truly shows how entitled you are and how bad your education is. Do you even know anything about history or any reasons why the Second World War started? You're literally comparing the educational system of the USA, which, by the way, if you shouldn't know, is heavily looked down upon by most European countries, with the German one, while bringing up arguments that have no relevance or basis. You can't even debate, read properly, or think abstractly on a ninth grader level in Germany, and you're trying to justify it by mentioning something that you clearly have no knowledge of. Even before my fiance and I started dating, the topic of finances in marriage came up. A friend of his had just married and they threw their finances together completely, which is something that he and I didn't understand at all. Our finances are going to be split completely. No joint bank account, no access to the other person's money. Both of us make a great amount of money, so it's not like we have to help each other out financially. He now has a stable job, and once I've finished university I'll have one too. Up until now my job isn't stable at all. But it's worked out great for the past 4 years, and I've put enough money aside to last me a few years in case anything should happen. And well, if it's not enough, he's going to step up. As for children, we won't have any. He doesn't like children and I don't like children, which is good because, maybe TMI, but whatever, I've mentioned it a couple times in the comments already. I can't conceive anyway, like at all. As for the AI part, what exactly sounds AI about my update? I totally get why my original post would be labeled as such, since I used ChatGPT to correct my grammar spelling, and it obviously changed sentences as a whole and left out a great chunk of detail. For the update, I didn't use any sort of help, besides autocorrect. So what exactly makes people think that it's AI? Also, I've commented quite a lot and explained some things. Would that also be AI? Can AI even do that? As mentioned, me and technology aren't getting along. Got some amazing and fun stories. The age gap thing honestly pisses me off so much. I can't remember telling anyone how we met, or what went down between us in great detail. I'm not even sure if I've mentioned it at all. So the only thing people can go off of is our ages. We met when I was legally an adult and we didn't jump into bed right away or anything. I truly want to know if people just see the ages and that we ended up dating and then immediately jump to the conclusion that he was the one to initiate anything. However, the worst thing in my opinion is that people read about how great of a guy he is, and then say stuff like he's just acting like it. I know it's hard to believe for some, but not everyone's an asshole and some people truly have a good heart. And as you've said, at the end of the day it comes down to the person you're with. I also don't see an issue in getting married in your early to mid-20s. I know that most people use that time to try things out, get the typical college experience or whatever, but God forbid someone isn't actually interested in that. Update 1. I visited my parents today and found out that Mary told them that Dave was cheating on me. My dad ended up believing me, but my mom is still on the fence and unsure of who to believe. But first of all, I want to thank everyone who was so kind to share their own stories. It was honestly incredibly mind-blowing to see how many people went through the same thing that I did, and still do. And hearing that cutting contact with their toxic friends was the right thing to do, made me even more sure about my own decision. To all those of you who were calling my post fake, AI, or karma farming, whatever that even means, I'm sorry to disappoint. But it's sadly not any of those things. This is something that's currently happening and I needed to get off my chest. I'm glad that you've never had to go through something like that. But judging by the comments, my story isn't as unusual, unique as I thought, and as far-fetched as some of you might think. People often have toxic and narcissistic friends in their lives, especially when people around them have enabled their behavior from a young age, as in Mary's case. I'm also not going to have AI correct my grammar spelling mistakes this time, so buckle up for some fun sentences. Also, if someone knows any good websites that can correct whole sentences, not just autocorrect but also grammar and stuff, please tell me which ones there are. Me dealing with technology I've never used before is an absolute shit show. There's a reason why I'm studying law, and not something IT related, lol. I originally didn't want to talk about justifying my relationship. It's simply not what my post is about directly or an issue that I'm currently facing, but I've decided to address it anyway. Why? I don't know, but there were a handful of people in the comments calling my fiancé a pedophile rapist, or saying that he groomed me and so on. Most of these comments seem to be coming from a place of concern, which I'm thankful for, but some didn't. So yeah, that's probably why I've decided to explain some things. I wasn't groomed, love-bombed, or anything like that. My fiancé is an amazing guy who never forced me to anything or rushed me into marriage, like some comments suggested. I'm marrying him because he's the one I want to spend my future with. Of course, we could have waited a few more years before getting engaged, married eventually, but what's the point in waiting when I'm, and he too obviously, sure that he's the right person for me. Marrying at a young age. I'm going to be 23 when we're officially getting married. BTW. Isn't for everyone, but it's also not uncommon. With some people you simply have a feeling that it's going to work out great, And when it comes to him, I have that. Some other people also suggested that my parents took Mary's side because they don't like Dave, which couldn't be further from the truth. They love him dearly and have considered him part of the family after a few months of us dating. I'd really appreciate it if people who are considering commenting solely on my relationship would refrain from it. It's not what this post is about, it's not the main focus, and I'm set on my decision to be with him. You can think whatever you want about my relationship, but at the end of the day, you don't know either of us or what our relationship is like. But now on to the actual update. We visited my parents around noon today, talked about everything, and tried to understand what had happened exactly. Turns out, Mary really was telling a made-up story while sprinkling in some truth here and there. Apparently she told people, or at least my parents, that Dave was cheating on me with a coworker of his, which is why she told me to break up with him. She said that this affair had been going on for at least 4 months, and that she knows about it because she'd seen them together at a cafe in a different city, a few months ago. Let's assume this would be true, why didn't she inform me or my parents sooner? Like, imagine you're best friends, back then. Boyfriend is cheating on her and you know about it? Wouldn't you tell her right away? This is also why I can't understand why my parents, especially my mom, would believe her in the first place. According to her story, I got incredibly mad, kicked her out and haven't spoken to her since. Now, some of it is true, as you should know from my original post. For one, her telling me to break up with my fiance, as well as me kicking her out and cutting contact. However, the whole story about Dave cheating on me is something I've heard about for the first time today, plus it's completely made up. Just to remind you, she told me to break up with him because Dave's a better boyfriend than Julian, her boyfriend. By the way, I also feel so sorry for him. I can't imagine how much she must push him around. My mom said that she didn't believe Dave was cheating on me, but was disappointed in me for how I handled the situation, especially since I couldn't have known if Mary wasn't telling the truth. She thought that cutting off my best friend for being concerned about me was too harsh, and that we should have talked it out. I've also assumed that she's scared to lose longtime friends when I cut contact with Mary, which also turned out to be true. Mary told her mother what happened, who just so happened to be best friends with my mom. And according to my dad, Mary's mother is mad at me for treating her daughter badly, and accused my mom of not raising me right. So there's that as well. After my mom explained what Mary had told her, I went on to tell her what really went down. The jealousy, the manipulation, the lies, all of it. Basically the things I've said in my original post plus much more. She didn't believe me at first and said that I was blowing things out of proportion, that Mary had good intentions but simply didn't know how to communicate them well. I showed her some text messages between Mary and me, told her about past incidents, and my fiancé tried to back me up as best as he could since my mom wasn't listening at all and kept defending Mary. To say that I dug deep and told my parents about all sorts of things is an understatement. I even went as far as telling them about a sex incident. So yeah, I didn't leave out any details. My dad believed me from the get-go, but my mom kept going back to how great of a person Mary is, and how she just wants the best for me. She also kept saying how I've never had an issue with Mary in the past, not true, and that I'm now creating unnecessary drama because of a misunderstanding. Maybe I'm creating unnecessary drama. Maybe not. In my opinion, it's necessary though. I've let her do whatever she wanted for far too long. At some point my dad simply told her to shut up and to stop making excuses for Mary, so at least I have one parent on my side. My dad's always been a very non-confrontational person and never really stood his ground, especially when it came to my mom. But I found out that he thought that Mary didn't have a good influence on me growing up. He apparently also told my mom that he wanted to limit the contact between Mary and me when we were younger. But my mom didn't see his point and let our friendship continue. So basically, this whole issue could have been avoided if my mom would have put her friendship with Mary's mother aside for her own family. Great. In the end, my mom said that she'd speak to Mary and ask her if what I've said is true, which honestly pissed me off. After everything I've told her, she still wants to crawl to Mary because apparently, what her actual daughter says isn't good enough. She tried to justify it since Mary is her daughter too, and it's unfair to just hear out my side of the story, alright? But you already had a heartfelt conversation with Mary in which she was lying to you completely? After she said all of that, we started a screaming match. I know, not healthy, but it honestly felt so damn good to just let it all out. To say that I cried heavily out of frustration after talking to my mom is an understatement, and I'm so glad that my fiancé was with me because I sure as hell wouldn't have been able to drive home safely. But on a good note, I got ice cream and we watched my favorite show when we arrived back home, which made things better, lol. I've not told my mom that I'm considering not inviting her to my wedding. We're not planning to get married until next year anyway, so there's still enough time for her to make up her mind about who she'd rather believe, plus I don't want to create too big of a rift between me and her. As for mutual friends who took Mary's side, I've decided not to respond to them. I'm not sure if Mary told them the same story that she told my parents, but I honestly don't care. I don't want to see Mary ever again. Or at least not in the foreseeable future. And mutual friends would make that a whole lot harder than it needs to be. Besides, they're not my only friends or close friends of mine. Dave's also okay with me not running after them to clear his name. If this whole situation should leave this friend group and turn public, I'm going to contact them, but right now we don't see a point in dealing with Mary's minions. That's something someone called these friends in the comments below my original post. Loved it. Right now I'm just hoping that Mary messes up her story somehow, and that my mom is going to see her for who she really is. While she's been acting absolutely disgusting towards me and basically chooses Mary over me in this situation, I think that I can look past this. It's my mom after all. Cutting off friends is one thing, but cutting off close family? That's a whole different story, and I'll try to mend things the best I can. If she's going to stay loyal to Mary, I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's not something I have to think about right now. Once again, thank you for your positive and helpful comments. I've read all of them, but they kept coming in at a rapid speed and I didn't really know how to respond to most. Also, for those who went through something similar, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, and I'm incredibly glad that, as far as the comments go, all of you could find peace in your decision to cut toxic friends out of your lives. Comment. Honestly though, I think you should tell those mutuals the truth for your fiance's sake. You don't want this lie to continue to spread and affect the poor guy. These are serious accusations. Oopie. He doesn't really see the point in me contacting people because the lie doesn't make any sense, and as long as only Mary's friend believes her story, he doesn't care. For months ago, he didn't even have a stable full-time job in a general sense, so he also couldn't have been seen with a coworker. Also, Mary gave a specific date when she apparently saw him with another woman. We were in Spain during that time. Comment. So what was your mom's reaction to telling her you are considering not inviting her to the wedding? Personally, I would only talk to your dad. I would be so disappointed, disgusted, and hurt by my mother if she behaved like yours. I would also be careful that your mother doesn't bring Mary to your wedding events and the day itself, as it appears they both like their own way and are happy to implode relationships and boundaries to achieve their perfect vision. I've not told my mom that I'm considering not inviting her yet. It's still over a year until then, and I don't want to threaten her with things that are going to push her into a certain direction she's not willing to go in herself. Comment. The reason people keep commenting on the age gap is that based on your timeline, it's likely this older man started dating you when you were a teenager. And it's rather well known how disastrous relationships between teen women and older men turn out. Considering the human brain doesn't stop developing until 25, it's likely you'll be a totally different person in a few years. But obviously there's no convincing you to wait till 25 to get married, and it's not what this post is about. I think there are two sides to every story, but the facts you've presented us seem so one-sided it's confusing why your mom doesn't believe you. It appears as though she loves another woman more than her own daughter. And that's sad. It's also sad your dad knew this woman was mean to you, and couldn't even stand up to his own wife to protect his child. And it's also sad you seem so willingly to forgive your toxic mom the moment she apologizes. My advice would be to postpone the wedding until you're 25, have graduated college and have a stable job, cut off your friend forever, tell your mom you will not speak to her again until she admits she was wrong, and explains why she doesn't support her daughter, and let your social circle know the cheating accusations are fake, to help heal Dave's reputation. I don't think you'll follow that advice though. As for the age gap thing, we met when I was legal and he's 5 years older than me. I was in contact with people older than him during that time as well. Still am. I personally think that 5 years isn't much. I have friends who are younger than me. Yes, they have different struggles than I have, and they are more immature than me. But we still get along just fine because at the end of the day they're people who share the same interests, beliefs, and hobbies with me. There are definitely a lot of cases where older guys look for younger women for a lot of different disgusting reasons, but it wasn't like that for us. This post is absolutely one-sided for sure, but that's because I'm not two people and can only share my own perspective. I don't know what Mary thinks or does. I don't know why my mom chooses to believe Mary over me. All I know is that she does. Maybe I did some things that I don't perceive as wrong, but I genuinely couldn't name you one single thing. I'm not someone to dismiss my mistakes and I always admit them when I need to. But in this situation I can't think about anything that I did wrong. Besides the obvious yelling, kicking out, and cutting contact. I don't want to forgive my mom, but it's honestly so hard for me to look past the fact that she is, well, my mom. She raised me, and while she most definitely doesn't deserve a Mom of the Year award, as I've already said in another comment, she sure wasn't as horrible as she is now. I'm thankful to her in many ways, and while she's currently holding on to Mary, she still did a lot for me when I was a kid. I totally get where your advice is coming from, but let's see it from my perspective. You say that I'm going to change a lot in the next few years, which is probably true, but I've already changed a lot in the past few years and my opinion on my fiancé hasn't changed in the slightest. We're going to wait with getting officially married for a while longer, but if nothing should change up until then, I won't postpone the wedding just because I'm not 25 yet. Also, a lot of people told me to share my side with mutual friends, I spoke to those who asked what happened, but I'm not going to explain it to people who simply attacked me right away. I'm sure that most of them have gotten my side already anyway, since I did answer some questions, and I can't imagine that this hasn't been shared in that circle yet. Update 2. I just want to say this in advance. I don't know if my dad was telling the full truth. I do believe him, but he might have exaggerated or left things out. It's entirely possible that he lied to a certain extent. I personally don't think that, but then again, most of the things he told me yesterday I've heard about for the first time, and they make him seem incredibly innocent. Maybe he was lying? I don't know. This whole situation just makes me question who I can trust in general. So we had dinner with my dad last night, and it went pretty well overall. We mainly talked about my mom and Mary. Apparently my mom had always been concerned about what others thought about her. But when she met Mary's mother, it reached a whole new level. Mary's mother often criticized my mom for all sorts of things: her parenting style, her clothes, her house, you name it. Whenever it was something that my mom could change, she changed it immediately to appease Mary's mother. That's also why I was put into dance classes when I was younger, because Mary's mother signed Mary up for dance classes, one of many examples. So yeah, as most comments suggested, she's being pushed around by Mary's mom. Is she a narcissist? I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. One thing to know about Mary's family is that they do a damn good job at appearing perfect. Happy family, nice jobs, nice house, etc. I guess my mom bought their persona and tried to copy it. I'm not going to trash talk the whole family here, but let's just say that they have just as many flaws as any other family. Also, my mom was apparently talking shit about me to my dad, comparing me to Mary in basically every way, and she even said multiple times that she wished Mary was her real daughter. She also believes that I took away her chance to live her dream life. Fun fact, but according to my dad, my mom's apparently huge on family. She always wanted to have at least 4 children. Ironic, I know. She had a pretty traumatic birth experience with me, and doctors told her that she shouldn't try for children again. Yeah, apparently she's blaming me for that. She then hoped that she'd get to live her dream through me. Basically that I have a lot of children. Bit of TMI right here, but I've mentioned it in the comments a few times already, so whatever. I can't get pregnant like at all, which means she luckily won't get any grandchildren from me. I guess she sticks so close to Mary and Mary's mother because she hopes to be a grandma to Mary's potential children. That's honestly so creepy and messed up in my opinion, but well, we're talking about my mom here. I also feel the need to clarify that I didn't know any of that. My mom never said anything negative about me to my face. Sure, there were some comparisons here and there, but nothing major or something that had an impact on me. It's always been just general stuff that parents tend to do, comparing grades, behavior, skills, etc. She's also never directly blamed me for her inability to have any more children and never said anything bad about me not being able to conceive. This is all just stuff she apparently said behind my back. She's always been pretty alright to me. She most definitely wasn't the best mom ever, but she wasn't horrible either, just a person who, in my opinion, shouldn't have had a child in the first place. My dad also admitted that he'd considered divorcing her a few times, but never went through with it because he was scared that my mom would get primary custody. He's currently considering it again, so let's see how that goes. As for why he never stood up to my mom, he genuinely didn't have a reason for it. He knew that my mom's never said anything like the things above to my face, so he didn't think that he should tell me, at least not until I moved out. He didn't engage in these types of conversations with my mom and kept telling her to stop every time, which caused a lot of fighting between them. I knew that their marriage was messed up, but I always thought this had different reasons. Also, my mom reached out to my mother-in-law and complained about Dave, how he changed me and stuff, referring to me cutting off Mary and choosing my fiance over my best friend. My mother-in-law, who's an absolute angel BTW, simply asked her why she's discussing this with her since Dave and I are adults. There's no need to contact her for it. My mom also told her that Mary said that Dave is cheating on me. She then simply told my mom sounds like Mary's projecting, and hung up. I'm honestly so pissed that my mom tried to involve her in this situation, and I can't help but wonder if she tried to create conflict between my mother-in-law and my fiancé. Maybe she genuinely believes Mary and wanted to warn my mother-in-law, but I guess that would be wishful thinking. For some background, my mother-in-law was a single mom because her ex-boyfriend, Dave's father, cheated on her shortly after giving birth. As you might be able to imagine, she hates cheaters with a burning passion, and my mom obviously knew that. So yeah, I guess my mom talked to Mary, who doubled down, and my mom decided to believe her. I was expecting that this would happen, but honestly, I'm really disappointed. I'm not even sad, angry, or anything. Just absolutely disappointed and confused. I'm currently considering sending her one last text before cutting her out for now, but I don't know if I should give her the pleasure of receiving an explanation. I'm still on the fence about cutting ties with her in general, mainly for my dad's sake. Their marriage is rocky already, and although he's considering divorcing her, I'm not sure if he'll actually go through with it. Keeping in contact with one parent while not talking to the other one must put a whole lot of stress on the parent you're still in touch with, and I quite honestly don't want to worsen my dad's home life any further. It's so crazy how I've lost so many people who I considered important to me in such a short amount of time. This whole situation also made me question other people like my dad a whole lot. There were so many people in my life throughout all those years and nobody said anything? Why didn't my grandparents step in? Or my aunt? Or family friends? I can't imagine that they didn't know about any of it. But then again, I didn't either. I also have no idea why I never noticed that my mom held some sort of resentment towards me. Shouldn't I have noticed? I mean, I've been living with her under one roof for 18 years. Yet I never imagined that she actually doesn't like me. Update 3. I had a gig tonight and Mary's ex-boyfriend, Julian, showed up after the show. Yes, ex-boyfriend. He came up to me and told me that he broke up with her this morning. He then got free drinks for the rest of the night. And we had an amazing time at the after party LOL. I've already mentioned this in the comments, but I told mutual friends. Who asked, not those who attacked me, what really went down between Mary and me. I guess they've told other mutual friends, and it got around to Julian. He asked her if my story is true, and Mary apparently got really defensive. After some back and forth, she called him an option that she's keeping around until Dave's single or she finds someone better. He dumped her right there and then. Mary must have spiraled after that, because she texted me over a new Instagram account and said that I've ruined her life. I don't believe in karma, but this honestly made my day. Also, I've called my grandparents, and they didn't know how my mom really felt about me, which honestly puts my mind at ease a bit. At least I wasn't the only one being oblivious. I guess she did a really good job at hiding her true sentiments. For my parents, I've decided to go LC low contact with my mom and keep in touch with my dad. He's not going to divorce her anytime soon for several reasons. I'm also still on the fence on whether to cut ties with my mom completely or not. While many people in the comments mentioned that they're not in contact with their families anymore, I don't feel ready for that yet. I want to have a conversation with my mom first, just so that I can hear what I've been told by my dad straight from her. But right now, I don't want to have that conversation. So yeah, I'm basically keeping her around for now. Comment. I think Mary wants your life, not just fiance. Maybe her mom was controlling and mean to her as well. And she saw your mom treating you better and became jealous of you and it spiraled. OP replied, could be possible. Her mother used to push her in certain directions a lot, forcing her to do things her mother loved as a child teenager. But it never seemed like she didn't enjoy these things as well. I don't know for sure though. Comment. I don't know if you seem a bit naive and somewhat too immature to get married from following this saga. Honestly, with your indecisiveness and unwillingness to make decisions that lessen your mental and emotional load, I can see Dance becoming incredibly stressed, which won't be great for your relationship. You are allowing him to remain in a position where he and his family are harassed, and he has his reputation thrown down the toilet in addition to taking care of you and your family's issues. While I think this is exactly what one signs up for when getting married, it sounds like the whole Mary situation is brand new to him and really ramped up after his proposal. That has to be a lot of strain. If you want to keep this relationship, maybe you need to help repair his reputation with everyone whom Mary talked to, cut off your mother and Mary's entire family, and sit down to have a conversation with your fiancé and help to relieve his burdens. OP replied, I don't know if you seem a bit naive and somewhat too immature to get married from following this saga. Honestly, with your indecisiveness and unwillingness to make decisions that lessen your mental and emotional load, I can see Dance becoming incredibly stressed, which won't be great for your relationship. You are allowing him to remain in a position where he and his family are harassed, and he has his reputation thrown down the toilet in addition to taking care of you and your family's issues. While I think this is exactly what one signs up for when getting married, it sounds like the whole Mary situation is brand new to him and really ramped up after his proposal. That has to be a lot of strain. If you want to keep this relationship, maybe you need to help repair his reputation with everyone whom Mary talked to, cut off your mother and Mary's entire family, and sit down to have a conversation with your fiancé and help to relieve his burdens. Update 4. Mary hasn't tried to contact me again, but she started sending videos of her having fun with herself to Dave. It's been 3 so far, and they've all been sent through different burner accounts. He didn't respond to any of them, and we don't really know what we should do about it. He gets sent videos like that quite often, but it's usually just 1 video per person, not 3 in a row sent by the same one, which makes them easier to ignore block. So far he's obviously deleted all videos she's sent him and blocked her on every account through which she tried to contact him. He hopes that if he's not going to respond that she'll stop soon, and well, I hope so too. It's honestly getting annoying hearing my best friend moan my fiancé's name. I also met up with my mom today. She texted me yesterday and asked me to meet up. She knows that Julian and Mary broke up and also knows the reason for it. I don't know how she's gotten the story. It apparently was a weird mismatch of Julian, Mary, and Mary's mom. My mom was pretty distraught when she told me this, and all of it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Mary told her this, Julian told her that, and so on. She ended up believing Julian over Mary for whatever reason. Maybe it was because last time I met up with my mom I told her that Mary's interested in Dave, and that obviously matches Julian's story? I have no idea. I also don't know why Julian told her. I've asked him to talk to my mom after some people suggested it in the comments, but he seemed pretty apprehensive. I guess he ended up telling her anyway. Overall, she was very apologetic for not believing me and siding with Mary. She also asked me if Mary tried anything with Dave so far, and I told her about the videos. She's really mad at Mary and has blocked her number for now, and also wants to limit contact with Mary's mother, as far as I know, but doesn't really know how to go about it yet. They share a lot of hobbies and are basically in all the same clubs, books, sports, and so on. Typical late 50s mom stuff basically. So yeah, I guess everything's fine. I'm still going to keep my distance from her. But she seemed very genuine about wanting to make things right. We're on a better path now, still not great, but we're getting there. This might also be the last update. Unless something big should happen. But if everything's going to stay the way it's right now, there's not much to update on. Edit. I just wanted to address some things people have said in the comments. 1. Dave gets sent videos like that quite often. He's a performer. Most of his concerts are in bars, festivals, and people get drunk quickly, which then results in fans doing weird things, overstepping boundaries. 2. I have no say in whether he's filing a police report. I can advise him, but he's the one who has to go through with it. 3. We're not going to show these videos to anyone. Mary's mother and my mom can know about them, but there's no point in sending them to them. It's private, and they don't have to see that.